What's up, you guys? Jazz out here in Singapore, and as always, thank you so much for joining me on the Night Owl podcast, you guys. This is such a labor of love. It's been an amazing journey so far. I got so much more to still talk about, and yeah, we're getting ready to hit that 1,000 mark here in a little while. So I'm working on it, I'm getting it done, and in the meantime, I get the chance to actually explain some of these new concepts that I'm learning along the way. And recently, you guys know I've been on this James Clear click. He has been sending out the 321 email, and it has 3 ideas from him, 2 quotes from other people, and then a question from me. And a lot of it is very, very thought provoking, which I love. I love quotes that are thought provoking because I'm tired of having the same old conversations with everybody. I'm tired of comparing schedules and checking to see if this is handled and that is handled. Where are the bills? Where's the money coming in? Like all of that stuff. I would rather sit and ruminate about bigger ideas, things that I could maybe make my life more efficient with, more simplified, more streamlined. I love that. I am a process kind of person, and I love being able to make things as simple as possible for everybody because, let's face it, I'm just lazy. So that's basically where all this comes from. He was talking about the difference between motion and action. And I think I've talked about this before in a different framework. I've been talking about being busy versus being productive, but I love the way he framed this because it makes a lot of sense and it's very, very simplified. You know me, I like simple. So he says the difference between motion and action is motion is when you talk to a personal trainer, you research a book idea, or you explore different types of meditation. Whereas action is you actually do 10 squats, you write a sentence, or you meditate for a minute. So motion feels like progress, whereas action actually is progress. And I love it. Now, I've been talking about busy work forever. We be doing stuff, trying to look like we accomplished a lot. We'll add little things onto our to-do list just to be able to cross it off and be like, oh yeah, I did that. Like I swept the living room, and then I swept the kitchen, and then I swept the, like you break it out into smaller pieces or whatever, so it looks like you did a lot, right? But that's actually not relevant work sometimes based on your goals. And even though it is work, housework is still work, but it's not putting you closer to your next paycheck. It's not putting you closer to your next level up in your entrepreneurship journey. It's not putting you closer to the goal of, getting your graduate degree or passing high school exams or whatever the case may be. Whatever your goal is, some of this stuff is actually irrelevant. It doesn't matter towards your goals. So I like the fact that he's making it the distinction between motion versus action. There's an analogy about a rocking chair, right? Where you worry and you're doing work because you're worrying, you're playing out scenarios or, dreaming up, every bad thing that could possibly ever happen. But doing that is more like sitting on a porch and rocking back and forth on a rocking chair. You're doing some movement. There is some motion going on there, but you're not actually going anywhere. You're kind of stuck in that same place, back and forth. It's almost like pacing around a room, right? When you're aggravated or frustrated or worried about something, you pace, but you're not actually going anywhere, but you got the steps in. So I like that idea. I like that distinction, motion versus action. Let's take it personal, shall we? Where I'm sitting right now, I need to make sure that I don't just go through and research ideas for what I can talk about on my podcast. I actually need to speak up on the podcast. I actually need to record them. And then after that, the next thing I need to do is right away download them onto my computer, add the intro in, and then upload it to Libsyn, which is my third-party program that actually dispenses all of my content onto the various podcast streaming applications like Spotify, like Apple iTunes, like YouTube, various platforms like that. So once I do that, that's actually putting me closer towards my goal. A published piece of content is better than something that's halfway written. It's better than something that's researched and not written at all. So there's various levels to this, and I like this concept a lot. I've been thinking a lot about workouts as well, and I think I've mentioned this before. I have an obsession with Pinterest. I love all of the ideas on there, and I love being able to browse through and look at different concepts, different styles, different designs, different decor, different works. I mean, I'm telling you, I've got I think maybe 15 to 20 boards on there of different things that I just want to try or save the ideas for so I can try them later. But that's the thing. I be saving all kinds of stuff and not actually doing anything with it. And that's part of the reason that I started doing the podcast and creating content the way that I do, because y'all know I am an information whore. I like to hoard a lot of information, and I collect it over the years, but then I'm not actually doing anything with it. I have books in my library, some of which I have not read yet, some of which I have not implemented the information from which I've read, some of which I've read over and over again throughout my life at various stages of my life, but it's still something that I'm not putting into action on a daily basis. So once it becomes a disciplined action, then I can feel like, okay, I can consider that particular type of information conquered. So I go back and forth on this a lot. I do a lot of research. I do a lot of browsing. I do a lot of swipe left, right? But like most of us, I am not very good at implementing right away. Sometimes it needs to marinate. Sometimes it needs to be shoved down my throat, whether I have a choice or not. Sometimes it's a situation where I need someone to game plan with, someone to hold me accountable. So I'm not very different from all of you guys. I know that there's plenty of content out there. There's a solution for every problem out there. It's a matter of getting the right one that fits our specific situation and then actually implementing the hell out of it. So I like this concept. I like the differentiation between motion versus action. And I'm really hoping that 2021 is a little bit more about action rather than motion. But I also understand, right? The motion is necessary. You can't just jump into action sometimes. You need to do a little research, but that needs to be a limited time kind of thing too. I can't be afraid and researching forever. I've done that before and it didn't really help me. I think I mentioned before in a previous podcast that I created chakra journals that are meant to be, release journals. You learn everything there is to know about the chakra, or at least like the overview. And then from there, based on the emotion that I feel is tied to that chakra, I have a couple of questions that I want you to work through so you can see if you can't purge some of that stuff that is still hanging around, still affecting you, still coloring the way you look at life. Now, I researched for a while. I think I had a board filled with chakra information, and I was trying to collate from different places to make sure that I had the right information, right? Not everyone has accurate information. So I got it from several places. I made sure that it was right. And then I created, but I didn't double check and I didn't put it out there for people to say anything about. Probably a good thing because it wasn't a completed project, but there was a lot of motion behind the action, and then the action wasn't complete. It was like, step one was research. Step two was making sure that, I had accurate information, that it was the same in the majority of the sources that I found. And then step three was to create the journal itself. Now, once I created the journal, there should have been step four, which is publish it and let people know that you have it available for sale, and then look at feedback and adjust along the way. So I got all the way up to step three and then stopped, which is terrible. That's still like, I'm still missing some actions. So I have a problem with not completing the task all the way through, not seeing everything all the way through. I will start all kinds of projects. I mean, if you look around my house, I have a box full of scrap materials and halfway made dresses and, sewing patterns, tools, lots of yarn, lots of string, crochet hooks, knitting needles, like all kind of stuff. And they're sitting in a box, which I have not touched in a while, but it's there. Right? I keep collecting things and putting them in the box. I have paint supplies. I have acrylic. I have, resin ready to do stuff with, but it's all half done. And this is my problem now. So I get the motion. The motion part is really fun. I get to brainstorm. I get to incorporate new ideas. But the action part, I think the problem for me is I don't see it through to completion. I will start the action. I don't finish so good. And even then, I know that I have started trouble sometimes. I will think and think and think and overthink some more, and then finally get up the courage to start something, and then halfway through I will either get distracted or have another project come up or some other deadline, forces its way into my memory, and I forget and put it to the side, and it just sits there and collects dust. So that's my problem. I don't know about you. Be honest. Let me know how you feel about this, but the motion part, totally necessary for me as a creative. It's part of the process, but the action part, I need to focus and complete. And I think that would be really, really helpful going forward into 2021. So here we are. That is what I feel. We're grateful to James Clear for his 321 newsletter. And you know what? More content coming soon because I have tons of information to go through still, and I want to talk about it all. So thank you guys for listening in. Drop any comments down below. Let me know what you think about this concept. Let me know where you're maybe snagged on the process of motion first and then action to make sure that you actually, bring something into the physical plane. You create something for yourself. You do something to get yourself closer to the goal that you have in mind. And then, meanwhile, start prepping, y'all. We're in the fourth quarter of 2020, and as whew, deadlines looming, end of the year to consider, and then New Year's resolutions, y'all. All right, I'll catch you again soon. Bye.